Hello and welcome to another coaching podcast. Today I'm joined by Mo Jama on what's going to be a podcast about his coaching journey. For those who have not heard me before, my name is Danny Cook and I am the podcast host. I'm also the Halftime Cuppa owner, so please go and check out our site www.halftimecuppa.com. So without further ado, let's welcome today's guest, Mo Jama. Mo, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Danny. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, thank you. I tell you what, Mo, I know we had a conversation a little bit before we went on air, but I don't know about you. I'm really missing coaching right now. How about yourself?
Same, really. It feels weird not having anything to do outside. So everything has just stopped suddenly. It wasn't as we were prepared, and we were slowly stopping sessions. It was more of that's it, done. Everyone just stopped. Especially when you haven't said goodbye to the team or you haven't set them some sort of a homework or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I do miss it a lot because I have so many things in my head going through some session plans, things like that. So when we come back, things we could do. So I do miss it a lot.
Yeah, and like you say, it's weird really because we was getting to that point where it starts to get to the climax, the nice bit of the season, the really juicy bit,
Yes,
um, and it's no longer there. Like it's just stopped, which is really strange. Um,
absolutely. It's especially when the team's coming together. You've worked so hard for the beginning of the season, middle of the season. The journey never gets to finish now. It's just more of it's just that icing on the cake is missing at the moment.
yeah, yeah. So how are you keeping yourself busy? Are you doing session plans or anything like that?
Yes, I am. To be honest with you, it's the first week that was the hardest part. So the first week I've got my book out, my coaching book, little folder, and I started planning ahead of what we could do when we come back. So I've done a lot of sessions to do with defending numbers, etc. But in the last 3 days, I'm coming to the realization that we won't restart until about September. So now the whole focus is turned to next season, and in terms of recruitment, in terms of what the team would look like, etc. So less session plans this week, a lot more at the beginning of last week.
Yeah, and I mean it's something I've been trying to do myself. Get a few session plans digitalized. Um, I feel like an old granddad, putting together some drawings on the back of brawny bits of paper. Um, just uploading those. So yeah, I've been trying to
I've
keep
seen some
myself
of
busy as
those.
well.
They really look good. I've seen on the halftime couple
Thank you.
website. They really look good. And the last one I read, the 21 game. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I missed that game. That I played as a kid as well. I coached that game a lot, and I saw that and I was thinking I need to be back on the field again.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. That one, as I said, I think Rob introduced that one to me,
Okay,
from memory. That's a real throwback, that one.
it
But
is.
let's get into your journey then. So where did coaching start for you? Where did you first get into the game?
That was at college. When I finished year 11, at the end of year 11, I was doing the coaching awards in terms of high school leadership awards. And doing that, trying to assist teachers who were coaches outside of the school. And then once I started college, I did sport science and sport coaching. And at that time, one of the classes was to do with research. And from then on, it wasn't anything that was planned or anything, but doing the research, I loved doing the research. I loved watching video clips of all the coaches, and a couple of my teachers were also coaches outside of college, and it's just they didn't so much inspire me, but more of kind of put a taste in my mouth of what coaching can be like, whether it's helping kids, whether it's actually being a teacher and a leader. And then throughout those college years, I've just fell in love with coaching and being a leader in terms of leading a group. And that's where it started really during college years.
Oh wow! So did with those coaches that sort of gave you that first real taste.
Yeah.
Did they give you any leadership roles, or was it a case of you just felt as though, yeah, I could do that, or yeah, I could do this better? Um,
It was a mixture of both, really. On my first year at college, our whole class we were given the chance to do the level one coaching badge,
yeah.
and one of the instructors was Adrian Creamer, who was actually our main tutor at college, and he also had a football club based in Stanmore back then. And after we finished the course, within 2 days, he asked me if I wanted to do some coaching and then a bit of money, and I said, of course. And the first thing he did
Who
was,
doesn't?
yeah, absolutely, yeah, back especially when you're 16, 17, it was more like, yeah, let's do it. And he asked me to assist him in one session, and during that session, he just said to me, "Do you remember what you did at level one? Just do those sessions and see how you feel like." And then from then on, I just fell in love that day, really. And then he started giving me a role of actually being a main leader coach and actually putting a session on a different school. So while he was working in the school, he actually would used to send me to a different school and give me a bag of footballs to do the sessions at a different school. So he was the main one who gave me the first opportunity, really, to do after school club coaching, and also give me the chance to lead myself rather than just be an assistant at the beginning. Just more of threw me in the main and said, "Go ahead, you've got this and do it."
And initially at that stage where you're an assistant or you're observing,
Yeah.
how how did it feel for you to go from that to then just before you're delivering your first session or your first activity?
To be fair, the assistant part was really, really easy. I'm sure you know this.
It
In terms of
is
easy.
when you've got a good coach alongside you. So yeah.
That's true. To be honest, he was a great coach. He was at the time also he was the Watford goalie coach as well. So he was doing really well. So it was nice just to shadow him. But the observing part was really, really nice. And his son was a goalkeeper as well, and he would do goalkeeping coaching with him. So no, observing one was really, really good for me. I just stood there and picked up the analysis part of the game, especially the coaching side of it. And at college, we actually had an analysis course, so I would use the same
Wow.
sessions he did as the actual main assessment for my assignments. But moving that from assistant to a main leader, main coach, I think the first day was a bit nervous because I was sent to in school and I had to also impress the teachers, the PE teachers that were there, because they were going to assist me. So
Yeah.
that was quite nerve-wracking at the beginning. But once I started going and explaining the session plan, etc., it became a automatic responsibility. I think I don't know the word for it, but something came over me, and it was just the
It
session
just felt.
flew, everything was
Mm.
going. I didn't have to think twice. It was just after the end of the session where I questioned myself. I went, "Oh, did I do that well? Or did I do this?" and things like that. So no, it was nerve-wracking at the beginning, but once the session got going, it was more of it's happening. Things are live. Things are going. So you won't even think twice. It just happened.
Yeah, chucked in the deep end, and you just had to get on with it.
Pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, no, that's
It was
fair
good for
enough.
really, really good experience. It was more of don't think too much. You know what you're doing. You know you've learnt it. Try and just put it into practice, and that was a good confidence boost, I would say.
Good. So you went on to college, and then what? Where did you go from there?
So after I think it was 3 month period of doing the after school clubs with Adrian Creamer, I've bagged myself a coaching job at London Benfica Academy. To this day, I don't know how I got there because I was only level one qualified coach at the time, and everyone
Must
else
have been
was
good.
looking. Sorry.
Wow, must have been good. You must have showed off all your talents there, Mo.
I wish I did because I actually had a great time, and some of the coaches I worked with were absolutely amazing. To this day, I've actually got nothing but great respect for them. And I've seen one of the guys, one of the main coaches, Special was his name, about a year ago, and he actually came down to the Arc Academy, and we actually had a nice chat, and he was incredible. Everyone was a UEFA B coach, and luckily, at the time I tried out to be an assistant coach for the U14 boys they had,
Yeah.
and within that almost application part of it, they asked me of my last role, and I told them I was leading sessions and things like that. And they asked me, "What's your favorite part of coaching?" And because I was so young, the first thing came to my head was, well, I could actually do really good exercises, good fitness work. So they gave me a fitness job, fitness coach for the U14 boys team. And it was quite exciting because the main manager was this Portuguese guy whose English wasn't the first language for him. And he was quite tough. He was quite strong. He do what I say. If you don't do it, you're out of here. We don't take anyone who's got a bit of attitude or anything like that.
Yeah.
So when I was doing the fitness sessions, anyone who was a little bit tired or anything like that, I always had his back in, and he would always look at them and give them the look of, "You don't do it, you're not going to be here." So no, it was really good experience, and it just meant I could just focus on the actual session and the quality of it, rather than me being worried about the attitude or things like that. But at the same time, actually, at the time, the coach did tell me I was a good motivator, and I would give them good incentives doing the fitness drills, because normally they wouldn't be so happy about it, even though he was hard on them. So no,
Yeah.
it was really good. So that improved my confidence as well. And within 2 months of doing the fitness coaching, I was actually promoted to the assistant coach for the U18s,
Oh,
which was
wow. Yeah.
quite a surprise as well, because I thinking back, I was under 18 at the time as well, and I should have tried out to play for them, really. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's really great experience. And the manager for the U18s was Spesh, the guy I met a year ago at the academy, and he was fantastic coach. He focused a lot on technique and athleticism, so he was more of a type of player development coach. Every training session we used to train 2 hours on a Monday, 2 hours on a Wednesday, and 1 hour on a Thursday, and we would have the Saturday games. And each of those 2 hours, each 1 hour of technical practice, whether it's 1v1s, whether it's 2v2s, 3v3s, etc. And you would work on that side of the game of being confident individuals, skillful dribblers, and things like that. And it was really, really good to see just the patience he had with them. And for me, just to stand on the side, and I wasn't assisting him, but I was honestly, I was in awe. I was most of the time just watching him go, "I like this. I like this. I'm enjoying this."
So wow, it sounds like you really picked up a lot from your time there then.
I
And
did.
yeah, I'd be interested to know how that transfers over to obviously what you do next. So where did you go from there then? You was
So,
assistant at under 18s.
so after the season finished with London Benfica, I've decided to actually stop coaching with them, because with college life, and we were having end of the season, end of the year assessments.
Yeah,
I took a break for about 2 months, and that was the July and August time, just to focus on college work. And then after I came back from the break I had, I've actually applied for Middlesex County Association, to be a football coach for them, whether that is the after school clubs or whether it's the sessions they do with local clubs. And luckily, I actually had a good response from them, and I got the job from them. And I was mentored by Charlotte Edwards, who now works with QPR Football Club. Again, fantastic coach, fantastic person, and had a great experience working under the XFA, both as a football coach and dropping into local clubs, doing some um, both coach development and also techniques on how to improve teams that maybe are struggling in terms of recruitment, in terms of coach recruitment, in terms of trying to mix different player abilities. Because as you know, most of the teams that are around our areas, they're not teams full of the same level of ability. Everyone has, you get a couple of players that are fantastic, you get a couple of players that are average and things like that. And we would go into local clubs and trying to do sessions where you could mix both set of groups, and they could work well together without not challenging either one. So if you make the session too easy, then you're not challenging the good ones. If you're making the session too hard, then you're not really helping the ones that are unable to achieve this level of skill that you want them to achieve.
yeah, difficult skill that. Very difficult skill. Um,
Absolutely.
It was one that I think is probably overlooked at times or underrated. Um, but yeah, one that I've had difficulties as well trying to manage the end that you need to develop, and then you've got the upper end
Like,
that you want to challenge at the same time, and yeah,
absolutely. It's really
it's a
hard. It's not just for us. It's general one for almost every coach, whether you're a coach coming through now, or whether you're an experienced coach. It's sometimes at grassroots you don't really have the choice of picking players. So when you get all levels of players, all type of players, it's really hard to find a way of challenging all of them, unless of course you have lots of assistant coaches and you can break down the session in multiple scenarios and multiple boxes where everyone gets what they need. But most of the times you only get maximum of one or two assistant coaches, so you have to think outside the box. You have to think on your feet on how to make sure within one session everyone can get out of their goal, without over challenging some and without under challenging some.
yeah. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's very very hard to do, but nevertheless a skill that many coaches, top coaches, possess. So yeah, building on from that, then your time, you're with your mentor. What
Charlotte Edwards,
where did
yeah.
where did it progress from your time with Charlotte Edwards?
So I was with her for about 4 years, and those 4 years, I wasn't with one club. We went to some clubs, and also we did a lot of after-school clubs. And after the first year, we focused a lot on girls' football. And at the time, there weren't really many girls' football around this area. There were one or two. Hampstead was still there. But in terms of general level of girls playing sport, football at schools was really, really low. So what we did was, I went to almost 6 schools a week to do after school club coaching, but just mainly for girls. And first couple she would shadow me and she would help me, and then the rest it was me for a period of 2 years. I was going into different schools, making sure girls get consistent level of coaching. At the same time, the progression that once a year ended, the next year they still have coaching clubs to go to, or coaching, after school coaching activities to do.
Yeah,
So what,
pathways for them. Yeah, I
absolutely,
guess.
yes.
So how difficult was that then? Because you're going into schools. There's no, I guess, very limited connections to the girls or the women's side of the game.
Yeah,
How difficult was that for you?
it was. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was really hard, especially the first 2 months, I would say. There was a school that for the first 2 months, and I remember going to the school at least once a week. I think I've had a maximum of two girls attending the after school clubs. But then that school was called the school was called Whitchurch Primary School, and that's in Stanmore as well, near Cannons Park actually. Um, and it was tough. It was Charlotte would work with me as well, and she would say, "Let's keep going. We will speak to the teachers. We will speak to the headmasters again. We would email them, just trying to get the word out. Just girls football happening." But after a few months, it one by one, it nicely increased. I think I remember I had one session. I think we went from 2 to 5, and then we went to 7. And by the end of the year, I think we had 11 girls doing the sessions regularly. And that was the first year, and that was really, really good. And all that because of word of mouth. We were talking to the students, not just the students, the teachers, and telling them pass these leaflets to the parents. And parents, when they come the first time they tried, they were skeptic, but then they realized how much their girls were enjoying it and were having fun. And then from then on, we had 11, ended up 11 in the first year. And then the second
Brilliant.
year, it just boomed really. I think I remember one session it had 22 girls. And I remember
Wow.
calling Craig Nicholson at the time as well and asking him, I've got too many players in here. I need someone to assist me. And he actually came down one of the sessions and he actually helped me out. And I
Fair
remember
play.
we were going back to Charlotte and telling her how great this was.
Brilliant.
Absolutely, yeah. And within, I think it was on my third year, that's when Charlotte and the team at the Middlesex FA started the Capital Girls League. And on my first year, seeing that was really, really good. On the third year, but
Yeah.
also my first year of seeing league organised girls football within Northwest London, and that was Chase Lodge at the time. It was really, really good. You would have teams from U8 all the way to U13 competing on a Saturday morning, and that was really impressive. And the work the Middlesex FA did on those years with the schools, with local clubs, asking clubs they will help you with funding and telling them that if you want to get 3G pitches, they will also help you with the funding on how to pay for their pitches, and you would get grants and things like that. And the next grant they made was every girls team you start, you get at least £1,000 to start up that team and help you with their kids, their training sessions, etc. So that was
Great.
really good, and being part of that as well, being around it, it was fantastic. I've learned a lot really on how to build teams back then as well, and also how to sustain players year after year and things like that. It was great experience, and yeah, it was fantastic. And on my fourth year, I think I took a break a few months before Charlotte gave me a call actually and asked me this man here called Giuliano. He wants to start a local football girls club, mixture with boys, and it's about 2 minutes from your house. Could you give him an assistant? He asked me if I could find some good coaches, and that's how I met Yul. That's how nicely it led to Kinja.
Oh,
That was
fantastic.
2012.
So, yeah, that's incredible. So we've seen the sort of journey towards obviously the club you're now at, Kinja.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's incredible. So before that, you've seen you've kind of got a foundation of seeing how a club can be set up,
yeah,
how I mean, you're looking at obviously going all the way back to your assisting days as well, seeing obviously how sessions are run, learning that, learning a different aspect in terms of fitness as well, seeing the girl side and growing that. So you really had a fantastic foundation then prior to coming into Kinja.
I did. And to be honest with you, I'm one of the lucky people that I've actually worked. Looking back now, I've worked with some great people growing up. Through the age of 16 to 21. I think the people around me were incredible. I think someone like Charlotte Edwards, someone like Craig Nicholson as well, Spesh, Bruno. So there were some fantastic coaches, Adrian Creamer. Yeah, it's looking back, I've had some great leaders around me, to be honest with you. So
Yeah.
now I know where I get some of my good qualities, I see.
Now we know where they come from.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us nicely onto the Kinja days then. So you meet up with Yule, and then what happens?
Well, we had a great conversation on the first day. It was really nice to meet him because he was so positive and so enthusiastic. And at the time, he had one team, a girls' team. You remember? I think they were called the Rockets. Sorry,
Uh,
they were called the Rockets. I think you may remember.
yeah, I
um,
think so.
Brilliant. So they were coming to the end of the U11 season, and that was the team he had. And first conversation we had, he just sat down with me and he said he wants to build a club in here where we have almost an age group for every age group that's available for both girls and boys. He said we wanted to start from all the way U9s and end up all the way to U16s, and hopefully one day we'll have adult teams for both ladies and men's. But his main challenge for me was I've had more experience within this area of London. I've worked with lots of different clubs. I know some of the coaches and worked with a lot of schools. Can we get into those and work with the XFA and Charlotte and bring as many players as we can? And I said yes. The first thing was a challenge accepted. It was a really good challenge. It was first I'm working at a club, but the main challenge is I have to be in charge of the recruitment for once, and I have to also be in charge of getting the word out and start advertising the club really. So it was a nice challenge, which I really liked. And to be honest with you, the first 2 months were the easiest 2 months of all time for anyone starting a club, because
Why's that?
I don't think you could ever recruit as many players as we did in those 2 months. We went from having one team to having 5 teams within the period of May 2012 till September 2012, and that was
Wow.
just incredible. I've never seen. I don't
You
think
you
any other.
must you must not have slept. You must not have slept. You must not have slept. You must have kept working all
Well,
night
it was the
to
honeymoon
get all these
period,
players
wasn't it?
in.
Yeah, no,
I
it was the
guess so.
honeymoon period. You just enjoy it, don't you? It's something new, something exciting, and because at the time as well, with the loads of people I worked with, I've never asked them for help or favors. So everyone I asked for, every time I called someone, they would pick up the phone. Every time I asked someone, I need this, can you get the word out, etc. It was the first time of asking, so everyone was so happy and so glad to do it as well. So that was that was a lot of help that I needed that came easily, that wouldn't normally come because it was the first time you asked someone.
Yeah.
So no, it was really good. So I went back to all the schools that I coached of the previous years, and we've recruited so many players. Our first team I had was the U9, U10 boys, and I think I had 12 boys in that team, and I think 10 of them were from two schools I've coached previously. And all I had to do was speak just to the teacher I got to know well with, and ask him, these are
Yeah.
the leaflets. Can you, and the parents I've also met, and I told them, these players I'm coaching now, I've got you a club. Previously, I struggled to find them to find clubs for them that were suitable for them, because every club they tried out for was they were going in as individuals, and some would get rejected, some would get accepted, but they didn't have their friends with them, so they wouldn't enjoy
And
it
they
as well.
wanted to go with a group. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was also a good helping hand. And I think the first player recruited was Kamal. God, how long ago was that? He was such a young kid at the time. He was 8. First time I coached him was 7. When I recruited him for Kindred, he was 9. Yeah, he was 9 years old. And spoke with his mom and told him there were a couple other players that he would play with, but I don't remember speaking to the parents, or I can't get hold of them, or don't have a way to get hold of them. Can you pass on the information to them? And she simply returned and said, when do you want them? And said, well, we're going to train these days. And they were there the next couple of days. So
Wow.
that was really, really good. And then in terms of the girls' side, it was similar to the boys. It was speak to the schools, speak with Charlotte, try and make few calls and say, can you get these leaflets, these adverts out to the community? And they did. And we used Brent Council at the time as well, who also helped us in terms of getting the word out on their website, putting on the section of activities and exercises in parks and recreations. And it was really, really good. We've just had so many people to recruit. It was fantastic. And then Yul, because he was working with ASL at the time as well, has had a list from all the players that took part in the ASL football seasons, both girls and boys, and he just divided into two and said, "Here, make these calls, and I'll make these calls." And we actually got a U14 boys out of it, and a U11 mixture of U11 girls and U12 girls as well, from those calls. And then we had the U11 boys from those calls as well, who mainly they were Americans as well. So no, it was 5 months of just crazy, and it wasn't just me and Yo. It was Coach Sach, who at the time was working at Kindra, and Corey, who
Yeah.
were also involved a lot as well, and also helped with recruitment. So they had a big part to play as well, and it was a dream really. It was fantastic, and we ended up with 5 teams. I think was it 5 or 6? No, we recruited 5 teams with one team already there. So yeah, so that season we started with 6 teams from starting with one in May. So yeah, it's great time.
Great return. Great return on all that. I guess emotional and time investment as well. Trying to get everything all set up. That's brilliant. So, okay, the club's now set up. You've got your first team at the club. What happened from there?
So the first thing happened was we had the team meeting, the coaches meeting. That was the first thing we did when it was the end of August, just about the beginning of September. And we were talking about who's going to coach which, and when that's decided who is going to coach which team, we sat down all to discuss philosophy. Before,
Just sorry, actually, just want to jump in. Just at
yeah,
that point where you're deciding who's with which team, is that a
yeah.
case of um, the coach is coming in and saying, "I want to work with this team because this," or was it a case of, "I think you're best suited with this team"? Like, how did that process happen?
It's quite funny. It wasn't. I can't remember that much, but I don't think anyone at the time said I want to coach a certain team.
Yeah.
I think it came down to the end about in the recruitment. When we were doing the recruitment, Yul already had his girls team,
Hmm.
so we knew he's going to coach that team anyway. When he came to Sarge, me and Corey, I think because my love for coaching the younger ones, I think I was already down. My name was already down with the youngest team, whichever that would be, without me saying I wanted to or someone else saying you should.
Yeah.
And I think Sarge that year, I think he coached the U14 girls that was new together, and I think that it started as assisting Yul over the summertime when the team was coming together. And then because Yul was coaching the same time and the same match day, they had the same time on times of match days, they were playing the same league, even though two different age groups. I think Sarge just dropped into that one because he was already the coach they knew. So there was nothing behind it in terms of you should coach that or I want to coach this. And I think Corey at the time chose the U13 boys, but I don't think he chose it either. It was more of Mo's got the U10 boys, Mo's got the U11 girls, and Mo's got the U12 other boys that are coming up. So Corey had to try and assist one and coach one. So all of us had this thing where we would assist one coach and we would manage one team. So I can't remember anyone specifically choosing a team. It was more of things just fell into places during the recruitment, during the summer training sessions. It was more of, if it's not broken, just don't fix it. Sachi's already assisting that team. He can take over. Mo's already put this team together in 2 weeks. He's already done the training sessions. Let him have it. Corey's already doing this team. He's done the summer coaching sessions when the players were recruiting. So it was more like that. It was quite a simple process as well because we got on so well, all of us, and we already had conversations on a weekly basis. There was not much choices to make really.
Okay, brilliant. So that sounded pretty sorted in terms of how the teams were allocated. It seemed pretty straightforward in that case then.
Yeah, it's the season after where the choices came. we were coming to it, but we doubled in numbers. So yeah, there were big decisions to make the season after.
So anyway, you found out what teams you're going to be working with.
Yeah.
What happened from there?
So everyone had their team by the end of that conversation, and the next step was the philosophy, the club philosophy, the style of play, and also our code of conduct. So we had to come up with pretty much a full club details on that day, because we were such a new club. The first thing we focused on was just the recruitment because we needed players at the time. But now we've got everything set up. We had nothing else in place in terms of code of conduct. We didn't have anything in place in terms of even the welfare officer. We had welfare officer qualified, which Yul was and Sach was, but we didn't have anything in place for them to act on. We didn't have any fixture secretary. We didn't have a secretary. So all of those roles we had to discuss and we had to come up with it on that day really. So Yul took the lead in terms of the club philosophy, and he said, "This is what I want my club to be," which was brilliant. With some philosophy we all liked, and then Sach took charge of coming up with the playing philosophy within the club philosophy. So all this that's on the website, it's Sach who drafted and wrote word for word.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
check him out.
Yeah,
fair play to him.
Absolutely. No, it was brilliant. He took great notes on that meeting, and he did all of this. My challenge was to come up with the code of conduct. So I wrote this 20-page code of conduct. I believe we still use it as well. I think year after year on, I think we took some out and we refined it. But at the time, we need a code of conduct. So we had that as well. Then the recruitment papers and medical notes and things like that. You'll had to be the welfare officer as well, and we had to put in place where the parents, coaches, and also players could contact if they needed in terms of their welfare and well-being. Then the fixture secretary fell on me and Yul, me on the boys' side and Yul on the girls' side. And then the next step we had to decide was the actual club positions. And I think that time I became the head of U13 and below development, and then Yul became the head of U13 and above development in terms of in charge. So anyone older than U13, you would go to Yul. Anyone under 13, you would go to Mo. And then from then on, I think Corey also took part of the welfare, also few other roles. I can't remember. Everything is on the website now. But in terms of as a committee as well, we had to have a committee leader, which at the time was Leonie Hansen, who her daughter used to play for Yul's team, but was a great lady who knows a lot about football. She did her level 1, and she would assist us as the club in terms of the secretary for the girls' side as well when we had to go to the team meetings. if none of us couldn't make it. So we had to come up with all of those, put things in place where we are as professional as possible, that if anyone needs to get in touch with anybody, there's the line of things to go through. I set up the Facebook page, Corey set up the Twitter page, and what else? So wow, it's a long time ago. I should have taken some notes back then. But in a nutshell, we pretty much had to set up the club in terms of how we would look on paper, because we had it down in practical, but we didn't think of this while we were focusing on the recruitment side. So now everything was in place. We needed to put this in place where anyone who wants to try out, they could go to the website. This coach will pick up the inquiry, and then we would deal with it, etc., etc. So
that process. Yeah, I follow. Good. Okay, so assuming now you've got it all in place, the club, you maybe fast forward a little bit, the club is up and running. How does that first season go for you as a coach?
For me as a coach, it actually couldn't go any better, because the way the season started, everyone is excited, everyone is enthusiastic, and my challenge was to make sure by the end of the season they're as happy as they are right now, if not happier. So the first few months of the season, it was all about making the team come together, make the team work well together. So it wasn't just one. I had 3 teams at that time, 2 to coach and 1 to assist the U13 boys. So in terms of actual teams, my challenge was quite simple. U10 boys, they're quite young. Make sure they love football. Make sure I develop them. Make sure the sessions are fun. Make sure the parents are engaged. Speak to the parents as much as I can. Have the team meetings with the parents. The beginning of the season team meeting was quite simple. Our first season together. Let's have some fun. Let's keep the boys smiling. Win or lose, you keep cheering on the sidelines. You don't give them instructions. You enjoy the games. They will enjoy even more, and keep encouraging them. So the season started. We played, I think, pre-season friendly matches at Regent's Park, which was quite nice confidence boost because that level was not as strong as the Harrow Youth League we were taking part. So the boys had a couple of wins under their belt, and it was quite a nice, strong feeling for them. So they were already motivated and enthusiastic, but those wins made them even invisible, really. And then when Harrow Youth League season started, looking back, we might have played a couple of divisions higher than we should have, but it started in a crazy way. I think the first game we drew 5-5. It was just incredible. It was end to end. It was, and we didn't have a goalkeeper. I remember we would swap every 10 minutes. We would swap goalkeepers at the time as well because we didn't have a natural goalkeeper. So it was really fun. But the parents loved it. The kids loved it. It was quite fun. First couple of matches, I think we won a couple, we lost one, or we drew a couple. It was like that. So it wasn't, we didn't start badly and we didn't start amazingly, but in terms of playing wise, it was amazing. Everyone was enjoying it. There was loads of goals. I think we lost one game 9-6. Another game we won 11-7. It was just incredible. It was all out attack, and no one cared.
I love those score lines. They're fantastic.
I know, especially
11-7 or something like that. That's incredible.
It is, honestly, and that's why I said it could not get any better, because if we lost games 1-0, 2-0, things like that, it wouldn't been as exciting. But going through the emotions of the game, you're 4-1 up, you're 5-4 down, you're 7-6 up now. It was exciting. It was incredible. So by the end of the game, even though you lost 11-7 or you won 11-7, nobody, I think, cares at that age, at 9-10-year-olds. It's just more of the emotions you went through the game. I think the boys did, because you would see them come out disappointed for losing the game. But in terms of as a coach and the parents, we all loved it. We were like, this is exciting. We've seen some amazing goals. Who would ever thought a 9-year-old could bend the ball from 30 yards? It was just, and that boy was come out back then. So yeah, it was really exciting. And the girls also did really, really well, played the Capital Girls League. And I think their first season, I think we finished second in the league. So that was exciting. The boys finished third in their first season, the Harrow Youth League first phase. And then we had that Christmas party, which was really, really good. We had it at Weatherspoons back then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Take them all down Weatherspoons.
I know. It doesn't exist anymore, does it?
Well, Weatherspoons does.
Oh, no, sorry. I meant the one in Finchley Road. That one. I think it's something else now, where it used to be. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe they changed location or something.
Oh yeah, no, the chain exists. Sorry, I don't mean the chain. I mean the actual
the, the
restaurant.
the
Yeah,
pub. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, I
yeah.
follow.
Okay.
So was that boys team the original Saints team?
They were, but we had a mix of U9, U10, and the next
Mm,
season coming up, we had to split them to the team that you actually have now as U17s, which
yeah.
is the original U9 team that started as U17s now. The other team would have been U18s by now.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, so that team is the original first ever boys team we had. Is that U9 boys team who played as the U10s back then. So yeah, so no, it was really exciting times. Everyone loved it. That season was brilliant because even the girls, like the older boys as well, I think they finished about fifth or sixth in the league. But again, it was their first season together, and everyone was on board. They loved the football they played. They tried to see the ideas, the philosophy coming together, and the teams working well together. And when you have such a teams full of friends, it made the whole atmosphere so much better as well. It didn't need to do anything extra to make people come together. When you had a group of five that are friends, group of five together, and you make them work well together as a team, then it was just exciting to see. And when they lose a game, it was more of the other team was better. The other team deserved their win, so nothing else you can say really. So it was exciting. It was very good.
Good. So I guess now we'll skip forward maybe a couple years,
Yeah.
and move on to a stage a little bit closer to where we are now. Then,
Yeah.
so maybe second season, third season in. What's happened? Give us a whistle stop tour. What's happened since then?
So the second season went even better than the first season. So we managed to get up to, oh my goodness, I think it was 16 teams. And in those 16 teams, I was in charge of 8 of them. So I know it was exciting times. To be honest with you, I couldn't complain because it meant Monday to Sunday I had coaching to do, and it was brilliant. And I would have 4 games on a Saturday morning and 4 games on a Sunday morning, so it's quite exciting. So we got up to 16 teams on the second season, and we consolidated that for the third season, which was fantastic. And then by fourth season, um, we lost the couple of the oldest teams. Some of the boys team that were going to U16, U17. Some of them focused on schoolwork, some of them focused on college, and some of the American boys focused on getting ready for universities. And then same as the girls side of the oldest teams. So it meant we lost a couple of the oldest teams, but at the same time, I think we recruited the 1 or 2 younger teams to try and keep up, to make sure we always recycle and we still have players coming through and we still have teams coming through, even if the older ones we cannot sustain, if we cannot keep them at the club. So we had, I think, 14 teams by the end of the third season, beginning of fourth season. Those seasons were a mixture for all clubs. Some teams were fantastic, winning their leagues. Some teams were not maybe as great. Some, I think, got relegated as well. But in terms of as a club, it's still the ethos was there, the philosophy was there, the togetherness was there. Everyone was enjoying it. I think this time we had Prane and Rob as well in the club. And on that fourth season, I think Rob was my assistant coach for the U12 Saints. No, that was the third season. I think the fourth season, Rob and Craig had their own team, called the
Yeah,
Jets team, the
yeah,
Jets, which I believe a year later you and Harry joined, haven't you?
yeah. I think so. I think by
Right.
that point.
By that point, yeah, because I had at the time I had the U12 boys that were going into U13s, and that season we skipped and played as a U14 Saints, where you worked with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that coming to that season, the club was losing its I would say their best players to clubs around us that were becoming semi-pro, such as AFC Wembley. So
Hmm.
especially the boys' side. So we were struggling in terms of actual sustaining the good level of players and the qualities within our club, because the clubs around us also were sniffing around our players, because some of them go to the same schools with the other players that play for those, and they look at them and realize, oh, you're not really that stronger than I am. I'm actually maybe better than you, etc. And then they would think and go, well, that team is a semi-pro. I think I could play for them. So we struggled for that for our fourth and fifth seasons. But when you joined as well, we still had a good core of players. We still had strong level of players in almost every team, and that season was really good. Not so much the team I had, the U14 Saints, started really, really well. As you may remember, you were with me that season. But throughout the season, we had loads of hiccups to the point where we struggled to have 11 players on some match days as well. So numbers became tougher, really, I would say. But also, it was coming to the end of Yule's tenure. And so the focus of recruitment might not have been as great as it was from all of us in the first couple of years.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I just want to revisit a point quickly.
Yeah.
You obviously said about the struggle in terms of trying to keep hold of players when you've got other clubs that have got sort of the semi-pro status or um, that kind of lucrative offer for
Yes.
for these players. Was it more of a struggle with the players or the parents?
I think it was, I would say, a mixture of both, because you can never really blame the kid. Usually it's the parents that turn their heads because they will say, well, my friend's son plays for this team and my son is better. So that's where the whole idea comes from most of the times. But then you look at the boys and you think they will realize what's good for them. Sometimes playing with your friends and doing really, really well can get you a long way, rather than going to a team which the name might be fancy, but you might not settle in as well as you wanted to. You might not do as well. Although we do wish them all the best and we're happy to see them go up a level, but the teams they would join normally would be the teams that we play against the next Sunday. So that was quite tough, and it would normally come, I would say, from the parents because they turn the kids' head, and the more things they hear from the parents, most likely that's what turns them. So if they hear positive things, parents saying, "Oh, the coach is great, the team is doing great," the kids are having, they have the effect on the kids being enthusiastic and enjoying the playing with the team. But the more negative points that come out of the parents, such as, "Oh, but my son is better than this kid who's playing for this team," etc., etc., or "My son could do better," or things like that, then it gets to the kids' heads, and that affects them in terms of training as well. They will come to you and tell you, "I want to try it for this other team." So yeah, so it's a bit of both, but mainly I would say it's the parents that turn the boys' heads.
Yeah, that does surprise me. In
I'm sure
terms of
experienced in the
so
last two
now,
years yourself as well.
yeah, I know, I know. Um, in terms of right now, then, or
Yeah,
not right now, the stage of where we stopped at, which was I've just come into the club, or Harry, I think Harry was in before me, probably by a good couple of months anyway. Um, Talk to us about what happened from there. So obviously we've delved a little bit into that season.
yeah.
How did that end up?
So you joined actually at the end of the season previously before we started together in the U14 team.
Yeah, it was
Um,
about April. I think it was about April, March, something
yes,
around that.
absolutely, yes. I do remember this because you actually came to watch some of the U12 boys matches.
Yeah,
And that great team we had, I think you may remember Paddy and Yanis, etc. Those boys.
great team. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So that was that. I do miss that team. So we had a really, really good U12 boys team. I think we were Division One or Division Two, was it, in the Harrow Youth League, and they were doing really, really well. We had, I think, about 18 players for that team. All of them technically fantastic, attitude, commitment, everything was great about them. But unfortunately, I think it was 6 of those boys were leaving the country by the end of the season, and that's when you joined. I think some of them already left. So I remember Yanis
Yeah.
was the first one to leave,
Yeah.
go back to France. Yeah, so we didn't struggle in terms of a season, but we struggled in the last couple of matches because we struggled for players, especially when the international schools finished earlier than the British schools, and they started going on holidays and getting ready to move, and we just were left with about, I think it was 8 or 9 players for most of the last 4 or 5 matches. But still, the boys were great. They were enthusiastic. They loved it, and you loved it. I remember as well. You did some sessions, and you came to me and loving it, saying, "Oh, these boys are great to coach." So now, as a season, it was a successful season, and most of the Kinjo teams actually did have a successful season as well. Because I remember I had the U11 girls who are now my U15s. I'm not sure whether U11s or U12s. I think we might have been U11s. We're playing the Hertfordshire League. And I remember we won the league that year. So it was really, really good as well.
Great.
So
Mm.
I was happy. I was over the moon as a coach. The boys did really well, progressed fantastically well, came to a level that I did not imagine they would come up to. And seeing them from the age of 9 to 12, 13, 14, playing this way and individually capable of doing special things, it was really, really good for me. So, no, it was fantastic. And then you joined, and that season's finished. And then the next season, we had this. Well, it wasn't we. It wasn't just me and you. It was we as a coach, Coach Rob, Coach Craig, Yul,
Yeah.
Prane, yourself, myself, all involved in trying to do a mass tryout for about 2 to 3 teams, and to make sure everyone has a fair trial in making a team of the boys. I think we had about 40 to 45 players trying to try out for 2 or 3 teams.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
massive.
it
It
was,
was massive.
it was. I don't think I've done trials all of coming up to that year in different circumstances, for different teams, for different reasons. I've never done it for this reason. I've never done it that way in my life. So that was quite interesting for me. So but it was good learning curve. It was good to see how other coaches also put their ideas forward, and in terms of the tryouts, the trials, and how when you put loads of people in one room and you ask them to come up with one set of idea, how sometimes it could not work, because
Yeah.
unfortunately those trials did not really work for, I think I would say, for any of the teams that we made at the time, because as you may remember, some were unhappy not having their friends in certain teams. So, which also meant we were forced to have some players into some specific teams, even if they didn't want to be, or if they wanted to be a certain team, they couldn't be because of the trial went this way or went that way. But all in all, the trial completed and everyone had a team. That was the good news, apart from maybe few players who ended up not wanting to stay in the teams. So the next season started, and I think we started really, really well. I remember this game very well because you have one player in your team now who's impressed me in that game. You may remember Noah,
Yeah.
and we played Pin Stars. I think it was at home, and he was playing against us, and he actually ran the show in the first half for the other team. Even though they didn't have majority of the game, we had majority of the game, and we kept missing our chances. And that game, we ended up winning 5-1, I believe. Almost 5 different goal scorers and loads of different assisters, and it was really, really good. So the season started really well. We were enjoying it. And then this thing happened where we had to do the sessions in 2 separate places, one at the Hive and one at the Arc, which some of the boys struggled to cope with the change, especially some of the boys that couldn't attend the Hive sessions, which also meant the team wasn't all training together at the same pace. So from starting really well to having these little issues, it meant we didn't have a successful season as we wanted to. And then as the season went on, we had some players that have left for one way or another reason. Um, Even myself, although I enjoyed coaching the boys and enjoyed that year, overall that season, it was my last season coaching a boys team, and that was was it 2016, if I
Oh,
remember it,
I mean,
2017.
it may have been 2016, may have been 2016. 20, yeah, as in, I think 2015-16 season.
Okay,
I think.
yeah. So that was actually the last time I coached the boys team in terms of Kindra,
Would
which
you
is
would you would you ever go back? Would you ever
absolutely.
do a boys team again?
Absolutely. Well, to be fair, there was also other reasons as well. It wasn't the coaching reason. It was
Yeah.
because I was working full time as well. I'm still working full time. So and also I couldn't commit to coming straight from work on some certain training session days, to come back on time to the training session. So if you may remember, at the end of the season, I didn't attend as many Wednesday training sessions. So
Yeah,
the only
the ones at the Hive. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, which was a bit
Yeah.
further away coming from work. So it meant I would miss almost 90 minutes of the practice out of 2 hours session. So it wasn't because I didn't want to coach boys. It was simply because the boys also needed a new face that season, because when you have a training session where you'll have some players not attending in one session, and then the other session they will attend, but some other boys weren't attending the other session, it didn't work as well as we wanted to. And also me coming late to some sessions on the sessions at the high fall, so I don't think it helped. But having said that, as a season, it was successful in terms of actually myself enjoying working with you and coaching the boys, because the majority of the boys that I stayed, I think, enjoyed it, considering coming to the event we had at the Jimmy's
the
Cafe.
social. Yeah,
The
yeah,
social, that's the one.
I remember that.
Yeah. So as a season, because the boys were a great group of boys, and I've coached them throughout the years as well, and they were very respectful. Those were the ones that stayed. So the Mo's, the Rezes, the Leon, for example, who's still here, which is fantastic to see. Clevis as well, that was his first season, which was absolutely fantastic. So it was lots of positives and one or two minor negatives that didn't help our season in terms of the numbers. But yeah, it was overall, I would definitely go back to coaching boys. Yeah, no, I have no hesitation in going back to coaching boys.
Good. Okay. So moving on then, you're now next season. You've now got the girls, and your focus is the girls. What happens from there then?
So the season. I think we had a pre-season that season, which was quite actually nice, because we normally, with my girls team, we normally don't get that, because most of them are international students, so they will come. We almost never have a training session until the actual first game comes up. So I think we had a week of pre-season, which was quite nice, because we went to Paddington Rec as well to do a bit of fitness training. So that season was probably our best season in terms of the girls team, since we've won the second season after. We had this team called Tottenham, as you may know. I'm calling them this team, because we've had loads of seasons where we played professional ladies teams in our leagues, which sometimes seems quite unfair when you do so well against them, but they still having to win the league. But no, the girls had a fantastic season. Training sessions also were better because the girls were getting older, and we didn't have to focus on one simple thing. It was challenge them. They would come into U13s. As the U13s, their curve was much higher than I predicted before. As they were getting bigger and stronger and faster, their technical abilities were great, which is what we focused at the beginning. So U9, U10, U11, it was technical practice. And by the time they get U13s, you've had these strong, fast girls who had technical abilities as well. So it was really, really good. So they had a great season. We finished second behind Tottenham, but ahead of Watford and ahead of Pro Direct Academy and Rice Rangers, who are all strong teams, including Harvesters as well, who are also a strong team. So yeah, it was a fantastic season. The girls enjoyed that season as U13s, and we took part in the summer tournaments, which we've all done throughout the years. Incredibly, we have some record to beat. Every year, the girls team have won at least two tournaments out of the 5 or 6 that we take part. So no, it was a great season to finish the season after the boys. But it was fantastic.
Good. And then what does that bring you up to? This season
or
last season?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're almost there. Yeah, got it. Yeah. So last season, what happened?
So last season, so it was just the girls team I was coaching. So I've gone down to just the one team for the last 2 years, 2.5 years.
So from 8 to 1.
Yeah, it's quite a trajectory, isn't it? But no, last season wasn't a great season for us as the U14 girls team. This year we're U15, so last year U14s. We didn't start the season well in terms of also recruitment. What we doing so well last season meant that our level, we could only attract players of a certain level. And during the team meetings with the parents, I realized the parents were not going to like having just players that were part of the team who might not have been the same level as the girls that we have. So already we were on the back foot in the first meeting of the season because the parents are expecting you to win the league. Yeah, done so well. They look such a great players. Even though those other academies have got good players, we look better than them. So overall, the actual team of, I think we had 14 girls going to 11-a-side football for the first time. We needed at least a couple more players, and knowing we have international players, we weren't gonna fulfill all the fixtures. And two, they were going to be away for some certain holidays that the league won't give you those holidays. So on those meetings, we discuss we might not find the players that you think we can. We need to start looking at younger players that are already in the club, so we can push them up so they can be part of the team. And that's how we kept some of the younger girls who were playing for a younger team in Kindra, who came up to the Hailstorms last season. So you got the youth 13 girls playing up as U14s last year. I think we did 6 of them. So we had 6 of them. Unfortunately, not everyone was happy about it. I was happy because it meant we had numbers for matches.
Yeah, of course.
The girls themselves were the girls themselves were happy as well, especially the British girls who don't have as many holidays, because we didn't have to play some matches with 7 girls. But that meant the quality of our play dropped a lot when the other stronger players weren't available to play the matches. And I think there was a record we had last year where we played 6 games in a row, where if it wasn't for the younger girls, I don't think we would have had 6 girls of the older girls of the actual age group. So that proved why we needed to recruit numbers regardless of ability. But unfortunately, as it turned out, in the terms of the season, we couldn't sustain our standards, mainly because the players that were coming up were not the same physicality level as the older girls. So you would have a 12-year-old turning 13 playing against the 14-year-old of Spurs, who's almost 5'10", while the 12-year-old in your team is almost 4 foot tall. So they struggled physicality-wise. Technique, nothing wrong with them. They had brilliant technique. They had fantastic ability as well. It's just it was level higher than them. So as a season, it didn't work, unfortunately. In terms of the table as well, it didn't work. I think we finished fifth. Unfortunately we ended up in this league where we only had 6 teams last year, because most of the other teams didn't want to be part of this division because the amount of academies that were in it. So it was us and Rise Up Rangers who were the only 2 non-academy teams that were in the division. So we finished 3rd from bottom. So we finished 4th, 2nd from bottom, sorry. 4th, 5th, 6th, 3rd from bottom. My math is not great.
Yeah.
So
still respectable finish, isn't it, really, because of the standard of the competition, the number of teams as well, as you allude to.
Yeah, so playing 4 times against each other throughout the season. So play 4 times against Watford, play 4 times against Tottenham, play 4 times Pro Direct, play 4 times against Ruislip. It was just incredible. There were loads of games, but it was but we struggled. Having said that, we managed to get to the League Cup final, which we narrowly lost to Watford in the end. It was 2-2. I think it was until the last 2 minutes of the game where we conceded the 3rd goal. We lost 3-2. But throughout the season, we stayed competitive, even when we played with players down. I remember one game at Watford, we were 3-0 down at half-time. I think we only had 11 for that game, and we drew 3-3. So it was really, really good. It was fantastic. So in terms of staying competitive, we weren't out of place. It's just the numbers available for games we struggled with, and the players that were coming up just unfortunately couldn't cope with the physicality and the speed of the game, having not played 11-a-side before and jumped from some of them 7-a-side to 11-a-side without playing 9-a-side. So that was quite a difficult jump for them as well.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, as you know, I know full well how hard it can be when you don't have the numbers or when you are struggling for numbers. But just revisiting that cup final,
yes,
what was the, obviously you conceded that late goal.
Yes.
How was the team talk afterwards, and what was the reaction like amongst the girls?
To be honest with you, the team talk after the game was easier than it would have been if it was a normal game. I say this as a normal game because I'm not sure if you remember Faustina, our left winger, broke her collarbone in the first 10 minutes of the game, where it should have been a penalty really because she got taken out. So we had so many things against us. We had Sophie, who was injured. We had Sesame, who also was injured but still had to play through the final. And then we had that player who broke her collarbone during the game. So we had loads of things that happened against us during the game, which meant the team talk at halftime was quite simple. It was give it your best shot. We're not gonna come out this game feeling down for feeling sad for ourselves. We're gonna come out going, we gave it all, we lost or we won. So the girls gave all of they could in the second half, and the end of the game, it was quite nice actually. They were all upbeat, and their responses most of the time was, we lost 3-2 to this team who never coach their own players. They're always picking up their players from other teams. They're poaching the best players from other teams. So my team took at the end of the game, I would plan to say hard luck girls, great effort. I didn't need to say anything. They were all, it was self-explanatory because we played toe to toe with the other team. They didn't outplay us and we didn't outplay them. It was 50-50 game.
Yeah.
They had so many subs to make use of. I don't think I had one sub. I had two subs to start the game, but because one of the players was injured, taken to hospital, I ended up with having one sub. So there was loads of things that happened against us. So it was easier than I expected, but it was great feeling in terms of when you lose a game, big game. I wanted to feel like that, not other way around and feel so sad.
Yeah, I remember because obviously I came to watch the game, and I remember the second half, like whatever you said at half time, they came out second half and they put on a completely different performance, really, from memory.
They
so
did. They
yeah,
didn't let them down at all. No, they didn't. And to be fair to them, the first half they started the same. It was just the shock of the breaking the collarbone. There were 20-minute period where we couldn't play football, and you could sense all of them in their heads with the injury they were thinking of. But in the second half, I think they didn't have pressure. They were 2-0 down. Told them, go give it your best shot. And you were absolutely spot on. They started really, really in the second half, and we got back to 2-2, which was fantastic. But yeah, they didn't let themselves down. It was a loss, but it wasn't a loss that it didn't feel like a proper loss. It felt we did what we could.
Yeah, good. So that brings you on to this season, then the very, very start of this season, which seems like so long ago now.
Oh yes.
So talk us through how's your season gone this year?
So overall, it has gone amazingly well. But if you look into the details, a lot of things have gone wrong for it to go this well. So if I do A to Z and start from the beginning for this season, so come to the end of the summer and the beginning of September this season, we've had a lot of the players leaving. For multiple reasons, but one of the main reasons was we couldn't recruit players that they were the level they wanted to play with. So pretty much an issue coming from last season, basically the season before last. So the conversations I had with the parents again, it was if we could find such players at this age for girls teams, we would, without any hesitation, we would look for them and we will get them and we will happily play with them. However, we cannot recruit players or we cannot poach players that play for other teams and tell them just to come and play for us, because that's not just ethical. So if other players want to play with us, brilliant, let's go. So majority of them decided and said, unfortunately, we will not continue for this season, which meant by the end of August or the week before September, I only had 6 players available for the team. So we had to think quickly on our feet and try and recruit some players, at least just to make up the numbers. And we got lucky in a way because we managed to end up with 11 girls for the first game of the season. And it was decent. We played, so before those girls left, we had friendly matches against the teams as Tottenham, etc. And we did lose heavily as well in those games. You could tell the players that didn't want to be here, they didn't play like it. The parents as well didn't feel like they wanted to be here. So it was more of just it's friendly games. Get your legs running, get your legs going, get your fitness back. But in terms of when they've left, we started the season slowly. We've lost the first couple of games, which was fine. I think we played with 8 or 9 some matches against 11 players. But the idea was, for us, it's a preseason. Our season will not start until the league starts, which was October. So by the time we got to October, we luckily managed to have 11 girls. And the idea was, whatever happens this season, we have these 11 girls, we'll go with it. The team meeting is encourage, start recruiting players as parents, try and get the word out. They don't have to be a certain ability, we just need numbers to help us through the season. And for some reason, that made everyone become even more of a team, more of an encouraging team, more of a team that helps each other. And during the matches, you can really see the teamwork. You can see the effect it has on them. Because the numbers are so small as well, coaching has become so much more easier and better because you could focus and spend more time actually coaching rather than having, let's say, 18, 20 players. And as October came, we won our first game, which was a cup game, which was brilliant. I think that game we had 11 players for that match. The next match we had 11 players. I think it was not December, actually January this year. Yeah, it was January 2020. So
yeah. God, that's
so
crazy.
the whole season we played with 8 or 9 players because there's always someone who's sorry.
No, I was going to say that's crazy. That is literally my season last season. So yeah.
So you know my pain. You feel it. No, it's even though it was a struggle at times, the girls were competitive, and I remember actually giving them specific challenges in the match. So some matches it could be, so we're playing against 11 today. It's 8 of you. First 20 minutes, keep a clean sheet. Okay, that was your challenge. After the first 20 minutes, try and get an attempts on goal the next 20 minutes, etc. Because we're playing 40-minute halves. To ask 8 players to run the whole game, it's not good for their health. So he was trying to I can't even say that word, trying to box the game into corners and make it breaking down into pieces. So defensive situations, attacking situations. So the girls have actually learned a lot playing with less players, especially tactically as well this season, than we've ever done before, because they've realized now, such as my midfielders, they can't run up and down. They've got to pick their moment. They've got to realize when to support the attack and when to think, oh, the attack might break down. I need to kind of protect the defense. So it's been great. Tactically, they have developed so much. And then on the ball, they're becoming more and more confident and keeping the ball a lot better. So there's a game I think we played October. I think we lost 9-1. I think we had 9 players that match. Against the same team, we drew 3-3 when we had 10 players 3 months later. And they still played with 11. So that shows the difference in terms of how they're improving and how they are developing. And they're also realizing tactically when out of possession, we can't press opponents when they have 3 players more than us in front of their goal. We got to make sure the pitch is as small as possible and let them come to our own half, and then try and break them down from there. So it's coming to this time of the year. It's been incredible, and we've picked up so many injuries as well that didn't really help, unfortunately, of course, because now and then every weekend when we look forward to a game, say we've got 11 finally, there's someone who's injured. And at this age, I'm expecting it, but not when you're down to bare bones and your squad is only 11 players.
You need everyone, don't you? You really do.
Absolutely. So that's been tough. So the last game we played against the league leader is such a great game. We really did well, but we were missing one player because they were injured. The one before that, I think we played with 10 as well. We were missing. Guess what? Someone was injured again. So no, it's. But having said that, it's been really impressive. And the team meeting we just had 2 weeks ago, it showed how everyone's together, including the parents. We spent a whole day of team bonding together, where we actually did a 3.5K run in the morning. Played a table tennis competition. Yeah, it was had a pizza for lunch. Did a tactical talk and a strategy talk, and then ended up with a Q&A with the parents. And all positive, all great signs. And it's unfortunate that the coronavirus has happened now to us, because the last thing we left on was we look forward to some tournaments and ending the season on a high. But that's a shame. That's not going to happen now.
Yeah, unfortunately so. And that brings us right up to date with where we are right now then. So looking ahead, because as you say, the likelihood of, I mean, obviously all the grassroots competitive football's been cancelled.
Yes.
But the likelihood of maybe a training session before September or August or June, July time is probably yet to be determined, I guess. Where do you see next year or next season going for you? What are you looking forward to, and how do you think it'll pan out?
So next season for us, it depends on actually the numbers that we would have. Because at the moment we have 12 girls in the team, and luckily one also just had an operation who's going to come back by September. We're hoping for, so that would be 13. Two of the girls unfortunately are going back to the States, so they're actually leaving. So then that takes back down to 11. So our goal is, and speaking with the parents, we will try and recruit as many players as we can, but everyone is together and everyone has confirmed that they will be back next season. So
Great.
my challenge is now to find players for the team, and I've spoken with Harry as well on the recruitment side of the team and what we can do to bolster the numbers. It's not just our team as well; it's the whole teams at the club where we need numbers as well. So at the moment, the plan is we cannot wait to get a session going, because at the moment I'm running out of challenges to give them on WhatsApp at the moment. They've done a 5K
Tell me about
run
yeah.
Yeah, so no, it's they've got these challenges. So the 2,000 touch ball mastery, the 5K run, and they're actually doing a great job in completing. And at the moment, I'm stuck on what to do. But in terms of next season, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. The parents are. Everyone's on board. It's just that I'm on board as well. I want to be here. Josh has confirmed as well. My assistant coach, he will be here. It's just we need numbers, because it would be unfair to the girls if we played another season always having less players than the other team.
Yeah. Sounds like a hell of a challenge, but I'm sure one you can rise to.
I wish we could go back to 8 years ago where it was simple to recruit players.
I know. That would be amazing. But it's so difficult sometimes to recruit players. Okay, last little question then. What do you see yourself doing longer term in coaching? Would you like to move up the ranks, maybe work with a men's team, work your way up to professional football, or are you quite happy staying at grassroots level? Like, where do you see yourself going?
To be fair, I've always been one of those coaches from a young age who actually never wanted to become a professional coach. And the simple reason is I think the grassroots sports are left behind, because all the upcoming coaches, loads of coaches, straight away want to get to professional coaching, and they always develop into that, which there's nothing wrong with it. It's absolutely fantastic. But I think the grassroots needs a lot of help as well. It needs a lot more coaches. As you know, within our club, we need coaches all the time throughout the year, and it's really hard to find coaches. So my actual obsession has always been coaching grassroots and developing players. From the days I worked at Benfica, I realized I enjoy coaching younger players. To be honest, I do enjoy coaching the adults as well, but for some reason I like to see the development side of going through the years. So from the age of 8 to 16, sometimes it's brilliant seeing how someone has come a long way. I would love to do that with a 20-year-old who can get to 40, but it's tougher. They've got work life, their commitment is not bad. In terms of if I had a committed adult grassroots team, I definitely would coach it. My long-term goal and my short-term goal are both stay within the grassroots and keep coaching. I don't have a goal in becoming a professional coach anytime soon.
Okay, well, fair enough. Well, thank you very much, Mo, for sharing that with us, and for sharing your amazing coaching journey that's brought you to obviously where you are now, right at Kinja. How can just to conclude all this, how can someone listening in get in touch with the club and maybe follow yourself on social media?
So first of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I've never talked about myself this much before.
No, it's been brilliant.
I've actually found out a lot about myself, so that was good for me as well. So thank you.
No problem.
In terms of getting in touch with the club, I would say the website is best, and the social networks in terms of Facebook, even though I don't have Facebook, but I'm sure if you Google Kinja Football Club, you'll find it on Facebook and Twitter. And on the website, there's the joining instructions and how you could come and join. There's also Instagram, where my social activity starts and ends. I have my own Instagram. If anyone wants to follow, it's mjama10. I do use Twitter. I finally found out my username, and that's m_jama number 10. You'll be disappointed to find out that I don't tweet much, but you're more than welcome to give a follow.
There we go. I mean, we found you. We found your account.
Yes.
That's our claim to fame. We dug it out.
I exist. That's all we need to know.
Oh, brilliant. And yeah, as Mo says, if anyone listening in has either got a son or daughter that wants to play football, or is a player themselves and wants to play football, they say just Google Kinja Football Club and it'll be the site. It's usually the first site up. There's not usually many other sites that come up when you put in Kinja, Kinja, into Google. It's normally the first one. And likewise, as Mo said, if you're a coach as well, that'd be great to hear from you. I'm sure the club would appreciate hearing from you as well. So Mo, thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate you giving up your time and telling us your story. As ever, it's been an absolute pleasure. And take care of yourself, Mo.
Thank you very much. Take care of yourself, Danny.
Thank you. And until next time, hopefully we'll be back with another coaching podcast soon. I'm sure Mo will be on another one very, very soon anyway. But until next time, as I say, stay safe with the coronavirus and all that. Take care of your loved ones and see you soon.